What would you do if the people closest to you suddenly became your worst enemies? Have you ever thought about how much betrayal can destroy your life? I woke up one morning, confident that I had everything. The girl I loved, my best friend, and a future that seemed perfect. But one chance conversation revealed a truth that shattered my entire world. Chapter 1. The Perfect Picture of Life. Alex's life seemed almost perfect. At 32 years old, he had what most people want: a stable job, a cozy apartment in a big city, friends who were always ready to help, and a girlfriend, Marina. Their relationship had been going on for 3 years, and during that time Alex was convinced that he had found the person he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. Marina was not just a lover. She became a part of his soul. Her warm smile, outspoken laughter, and gentle gaze filled every corner of his heart. She worked in an art gallery, had a refined taste and a special talent for noticing beauty where no one else saw it. Alex loved to watch her eyes light up when she talked about a new exhibition or a painting that struck her. In addition to Marina, there was another important character in Alex's life: his best friend Oleg. They have known each other since school, and together they experienced their first love, first failures, and dreams of the future. Oleg was always there for them in the most important moments. He supported them, joked with them, and helped them forget about their difficulties. Their friendship was as strong as a rock, and Alex could not imagine his life without this support. "You're a real lucky guy," Ola would often say, raising a glass of beer during their regular meetings at a local pub. "Good job, beautiful girl. Just a perfect picture. Just don't mess it up, because you won't get another chance like this." Alex laughed back, confident that his life was indeed stable and predictable. He loved Marina, valued his friendship with Ola, and didn't think that fate could have anything unexpected in store for him. However, sometimes, when Alex looked at Marina, he noticed an elusive shadow in her eyes that would appear and quickly disappear. He didn't attach much importance to it, thinking it was just his imagination. Marina seemed to him so open, so sincere that even the thought of a possible secret seemed absurd. Ola also behaved the same way he always did. He joked, supported, and sometimes even visited Alex and Marina too often. Alex never saw anything strange in this. They were all friends, and this friendship was an important part of his life. But fate had other plans. The idyll lasted only up to a certain point, until small, almost imperceptible cracks began to appear in the foundation of his happiness. How often do we fail to notice the first signs of a storm when we are so excited about the clear sky? What if you suddenly realized that your world built on trust could fall apart in a single day? What would you do? The first sign of distrust. Alex noticed the changes in Marina by accident. One night, while they were eating dinner at home, she suddenly stopped talking in mid-sentence, looking at her phone. Her face froze for a moment in a tense expression that she tried to quickly hide. "Who is it?" asked Alex calmly, noticing Marina hastily locking the screen. "Oh, just a colleague texting. Something about a new exhibition," she replied with a shrug. She sounded a little unsure, but Alex chalked it up to being tired after work. The next day at work, he still couldn't get that moment out of his mind. He wondered if it was just his imagination. Maybe he was too sensitive. Marina had always been sincere and open, and he had never had any reason to doubt her. However, the more he thought about it, the more he remembered other little things. For example, how lately she had been going out more and more often in the evening to meet her friends, even though they used to spend this time together. Or how she avoided talking about the future, which used to excite her. Oleg, on the other hand, began to appear in their home more often. Alex loved his friend, but sometimes his frequent visits seemed too intrusive. Sometimes Ola would bring a bottle of wine or a box of pizza and say that he just wanted to see them both. Alex didn't mind. Friendship is friendship. But one thought stuck in his mind. Why was Marina always so cheerful and relaxed in Ola's presence? One day, when Oleg came to visit, Alex noticed something that made his heart clench. Marina was making coffee in the kitchen, and Ola was joking with her through the open door. Their voices were too warm, too playful. Alex stood in the hallway, looking at this scene, and felt something dark looming over his thoughts. "What are you doing there, interrupting our conversation?" Oleg jokingly exclaimed, noticing Alex. "No, I was just thinking," Alex replied, trying to hide his confusion. The scene haunted him. At night, he lay in bed for a long time next to Marina, who was already asleep, and stared at the ceiling. His thoughts went in different directions. Was it just far-fetched jealousy? Could there really be something between her and Oleg? The next morning, Alex decided to talk to Marina. During breakfast, he asked her cautiously, "Are you okay? You seem a little tense lately." "Everything is fine," she replied, smiling. But it seemed artificial to him, raising even more questions. "Listen, if there's anything you want to talk about, you can trust me," Alex added, hoping that this would encourage her to be open. Marina just touched his hand and said, "Everything is fine, my love. It's just a little difficult at work." He decided to believe her. After all, everyone can go through difficult periods, and you don't always want to discuss it. But somewhere deep inside, the seeds of doubt had already sprouted. One evening, on his way home from work, Alex saw a message from Ola on his phone. "I'm coming over tonight. We have something to talk about." This message alarmed him. Alex didn't know what to expect, but he had a feeling something important was coming. Alex returned home earlier than usual. The message from Oleg had been on his mind. What did he mean by that? What exactly did he want to talk about? Usually Oleg was not mysterious, and Alex was used to his friend always being straightforward. But this time it was different. Marina was at home. She was sitting in the living room with a book, but when she noticed Alex, she quickly put it down. Her behavior seemed strange to him, but he said nothing. Oleg wrote that he was coming over today. Alex said, "Sitting down across from her." "He did?" "He didn't say anything to me," she replied, and Alex couldn't help but notice that she was a little confused. "Well, let's see what he wants to talk about." Alex tried to sound calm, but his voice was tense. When Oleg came in, his behavior was just as unnatural. He acted a little nervous, avoided Alex's direct gaze, and quickly turned the conversation to general topics. Alex tried not to push, waiting for Oleg to start talking. "So, what did you want to talk about?" Alex finally asked when they were alone in the kitchen. "Nothing," Oleg said, but Alex didn't believe him. "Oleg, I know you. If there is something, say it straight." Alex looked him in the eye. Oleg sighed, as if he was weighing whether to speak. "In the end," he said, "I think you're thinking too much. You look like you're looking for a problem where there isn't one. Is everything okay with you and Marina?" This question threw Alex off guard. Why did Oleg decide to ask this? "Of course, everything is fine," he answered, trying not to show his suspicions. "Yeah, okay then," Oleg quickly finished and went back to talking about trivia. Alex felt that this conversation had some hidden meaning, but he did not understand what it was. At the same time, it was becoming increasingly difficult for him to ignore the feeling that something was happening around him. A few days later, he noticed something suspicious again. Marina was on the phone in the kitchen when Alex came into the room. Hearing him, she immediately cut the conversation short. "Who was that?" he asked. "A friend from work," she answered, not looking him in the eye. "Why did you end the conversation right away?" "I just didn't want to bother you. You're so suspicious today," she replied with a smile, but it didn't convince Alex. That evening, when Marina fell asleep, Alex decided to do something he would never have done under normal circumstances. He picked up her phone and started looking through the messages. He found nothing unusual except for one thing: deleted chats with Oleg. It was like a punch in the face. Why was Marina deleting correspondence with his best friend? He returned the phone to its place, but now his suspicions were even stronger. The next day, Alex decided to talk to Oleg directly. He invited him to meet him at their usual pub. Listen, Ola, tell me honestly, is there something going on between you and Marina? Alex asked sharply as soon as they sat down at a table. Oleg was surprised, but quickly composed himself. Are you out of your mind? How can you think such a thing? Marina and I are just friends. That's all. You know me. I would never do such a thing. Oleg sounded confident, but Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he was being deceived again. That night, he sat in his empty apartment for a long time, trying to figure out whether to trust his heart or his mind. Alex couldn't sleep the whole night. Every detail of the last few weeks seemed suspicious. Why was Marina deleting her correspondence with Oleg? Why was Oleg so nervous during their last conversation? Could he have been mistaken, or were his loved ones really hiding something? The next morning Alex came to work, but he couldn't concentrate. The same questions were running through his head. He remembered that Marina was supposed to meet a friend after work today, and decided he couldn't wait any longer. During his lunch break, he dialed Ola's number. Friend, we need to talk. I'll come by your place tonight, Alex said, trying not to let his anxiety show. Yeah, okay, Oleg replied, a little tense. Alex stopped by his friend's house after work. Oleg greeted him as friendly as ever, but his eyes betrayed his unease. Well, what's the urgency? Asked Oleg, pouring them both coffee. Look, I don't want to beat around the bush. I've said it before, but now I want to know the truth. Are you sure there's nothing going on between you and Marina? Oleg froze for a moment, then sighed and answered, Alex, I've already told you. We're just friends. This time, however, Alex didn't believe him. He knew Ola too well not to notice that he was hiding something. Then why did I find the deleted messages between you? Alex asked directly, looking his friend in the eye. Oleg's face changed, but he quickly tried to find an excuse. We were just discussing things you wouldn't be interested in. Nothing important. That was the last straw. Alex couldn't take it anymore. He turned around and walked out without even saying goodbye. That night, Alex decided to do something he had never done before. He called a mutual acquaintance, Olga, who worked with Marina. They were not close friends, but Olga had always had a reputation for knowing everything about everyone. Alex, I don't know if I should tell you this. Olga began when he cautiously asked if she had noticed anything strange about Marina's behavior. Please tell me. Alex could barely contain his excitement. Olga was silent for a while and then said, Well, I didn't want to interfere, but I saw Marina with Oleg a few times. They were acting too close. It looked strange. These words confirmed Alex's worst fears. He waited for Marina to come home. When she entered the apartment, Alex met her eyes and said, We need to talk. Is something wrong? She asked, pretending not to understand. Are you seeing Oleg behind my back? Alex asked directly, and the silence that followed was deafening. Marina tried to avoid answering, but her nervous silence spoke for itself. I can't take it anymore, Alex said, his voice trembling. Tell me the truth. Now, Marina finally confessed. She and Ola had indeed been spending time together, and it had been going on for months. She made excuses that at first they were just friendly meetings, but over time they became closer. Alex sat in his chair, feeling the ground slipping from under his feet. His girlfriend and his best friend, the two people closest to him, had been deceiving him all these months. Why? Was all he could ask. I don't know, Marina said, lowering her head. Alex didn't say anything else. He got up, took his jacket, and left the apartment, leaving Marina in tears. The cold wind hit Alex's face sharply as he left the apartment. He walked in the dark through the empty streets, feeling the pain and anger tearing him apart from the inside. Everything he believed in seemed like a mirage now. Marina, his lover, and Oleg, his best friend, had both betrayed him. But what hurt the most was that he hadn't noticed it before, trusting them both unconditionally. He walked to a small park near their house and sat down on a bench. His hands were shaking, and his head was filled with jumbled thoughts. Why did they do this? Why didn't I see the obvious? Alex asked himself. He sat there for almost an hour until his phone vibrated in his pocket. The message was from Ola. Buddy, you don't understand. Let's talk. It's not what you think. Alex clutched the phone so tightly that he felt as if he might crush it. His anger grew with each word he read. Not the way I think, he repeated out loud, feeling every cell in his body craving an answer. Without hesitation, he dialed Ola's number. He answered almost immediately. Alex, I can explain. Oleg began, but Alex cut him off. Explain? What can you explain, Oleg? How did you, my best friend, start having an affair with my girlfriend? How did you betray our friendship? Alex's voice trembled with anger. It's not quite like that. Look, I never wanted to do this. It just happened. I didn't even realize how it got this far. Oleg's voice sounded guilty, but it only made Alex more angry. It just happened? Are you serious? He shouted into the phone. Is that how you justify your actions? How could you? I know it was my fault, but it wasn't that simple. Marina and I, there were moments when we talked about you. She said that you had changed, that you were different, and I just supported her. Supported her? Alex asked again, almost choking on his indignation. You supported her by betraying me? Oleg fell silent. In that silence, Alex felt something more than just guilt. It was the weakness of a man who knew he had lost, but still tried to find an excuse. We will meet, and you're going to tell me everything to my face, Alex said, cutting off the call. He returned home. When he entered the apartment, he saw Marina sitting on the couch, holding the phone in her hands, her face wet with tears. Did you call Ola? She asked quietly, not even trying to hide her anxiety. Yes, and he confirmed everything, Alex replied coldly. Marina lowered her head, unable to look him in the eye. Why did you do that? He asked, coming closer. His voice no longer sounded angry. There was only disappointment in it. I don't know, she said after a long pause. It started as a conversation. I felt lonely, Alex. You were busy with work. We didn't spend much time together. And you decided to find that companionship in the arms of my friend. Her silence was the worst answer he could have given. How long has it been going on? Alex asked, his eyes intently looking at her. A few months, she whispered, wiping away her tears. Months? He asked again, feeling himself running out of air again. Alex, I didn't mean for it to go this far, Marina said, but her words didn't change anything. The next day they agreed to meet together. Alex wanted to hear everything from both of them in each other's presence. He needed not only answers, but also to see how they would behave when lying was no longer an option. Marina and Oleg came to the meeting in a small cafe. Their faces were tense, their eyes downcast. Have a seat, Alex said, nodding to the table. He didn't wait for the waiter or order anything. Speak up. I want to hear the truth from both of you. How did you plan this? How did you even have the courage? Marina started first, her voice trembling. She told me how it all started. They started talking more when Alex was busy. Oleg supported her, and at first it was just words. But gradually they became closer, and the line that could not be crossed disappeared. Oleg sat in silence, avoiding Alex's gaze. Only when Marina stopped talking did he start to speak. I don't want you to think that this was pre-planned. I wasn't looking for this. But I can't deny that it was wrong. Alex looked at them carefully. Hundreds of thoughts were running through his mind, but none of them brought relief. I trusted you both more than I trusted anyone else. And you broke that trust. He finally said, standing up. He had nothing more to add. He left the cafe, leaving them alone. Chapter 6. Exposure. Alex returned home feeling completely devastated. The apartment, which had been a cozy nest for him a few weeks ago, now seemed cold and alien. Marina's things were everywhere. Her favorite blanket on the couch, a cup on the kitchen table. Even the smell of her perfume was still in the air. Every little thing now reminded him of how someone so close to him had betrayed him. Alex threw his jacket on a chair, turned on the living room light, and just sat down on the floor. It seemed to him that time had stopped. Their words echoed in his head like a recording stuck on repeat. It wasn't planned, I felt lonely. It just happened. He picked up his phone and opened the photos of him and Marina together. They were laughing, holding hands, looking so happy. How could this happen? He asked himself. How could they destroy everything that was between them so ruthlessly? Alex slept only a few hours that night, but even those dreams were filled with fragments of conversations, pain, and memories. He woke up early, feeling even more tired than before he went to bed. Meanwhile, Marina was trying to contact him again. Her messages came one after another. Alex, I know it's our fault, but please give me a chance to explain. I made a mistake, but I still love you. Maybe we can make it right. Alex ignored them, but one of the messages made him stop. I have to tell you the truth. Things are not as simple as they seem. He hesitated. What else could he say? But something in those words made him answer. I'll be home in an hour. Come, but if it's another lie, it will be the last time we speak. When Marina arrived, she looked exhausted. Her eyes were red from crying, and her hands were nervously clutching the strap of her bag. She sat down across from him, her eyes downcast. Alex, I know you don't want to listen to me, but I have to tell you everything, she began. You've said enough. Alex couldn't hide the bitterness in his voice. But you don't know everything. She looked up at him, and Alex saw something in her eyes that he hadn't seen before. It wasn't just guilt or fear. It was something deeper, almost desperation. What else can you tell me? That it was just a mistake? That you didn't mean it? I've heard it all before. Alex crossed his arms over his chest, preparing for a new wave of excuses. I didn't mean it, really. But she stopped, as if trying to find the right words. But what? Alex insisted. Oleg. He manipulated me, she said, barely audible. Alex fell silent, puzzled by her words. What do you mean? He asked, looking at her closely. He was there when you were working late, when you were distant from me. At first he just listened, but then he started talking about how you didn't appreciate me, how I deserved more. I was weak, Alex. He knew what to say to make me trust him, and then it went too far. Marina fell silent, covering her face with her hands. And then what? Alex could barely contain himself. He made me think you were hiding something, that you could leave me. He created situations so that we would be together more often. This is not an excuse, but he purposely pushed me to do it. Marina's words stunned Alex. He began to remember everything that had happened recently. Oleg's strange hints, his too frequent visits, his attempts to divert attention from his own guilt. Why didn't you tell me this before? Alex finally asked. Because I was afraid. I knew I had already made a mistake. And when you started to suspect something, I didn't know how to explain everything to you. I thought I had lost you forever. She burst into tears again. Alex sat silently, feeling a new wave of emotions take hold of him. He didn't know if he could forgive Marina, but now all his rage was directed at Oleg. "I need to think," he said finally. Marina left, and Alex was left alone with a new reality. His best friend had betrayed him not only in action, but also in trust. Oleg had masterfully manipulated the people Alex loved, and now he had to decide how to act next. After Marina left, Alex was left sitting in an empty apartment. Nothing had changed on the outside, but a storm was raging inside him. Her confessions about Oleg's manipulations opened a new layer of lies, and this only complicated the situation. He felt both a victim and a participant in this tragedy, because he understood that he himself had partly allowed this to happen. Alex could not sleep all night. He thought about how Oleg had been there for years, building their friendship, creating the illusion of support. And all this time, a person was hiding inside him who could betray so skillfully. At dawn, Alex got out of bed, drank a cup of cold coffee, and made a decision. He would no longer silently suffer and let others dictate his life. He needed the truth full, final, without excuses or hidden details. The first thing he did was start gathering all possible evidence. Alex opened his laptop and began looking through old photos, correspondence with Oleg, and even Marina's messages. His goal was to piece together the puzzle to understand when it all started and how far it had gone. Among the old correspondence, he found several moments that had not previously seemed suspicious to him. For example, a few months ago, Oleg had written to him about the importance of appreciating those around you. This seemingly friendly message now had a hidden meaning. Alex also found several instances where Oleg seemed to be deliberately inciting him. For example, in conversations about Marina, he had hinted that Alex was paying little attention to her. "It's important for women to feel cared for," Oleg wrote, adding that Marina must be feeling lonely. But most importantly, Alex recalled a chat they had had with Marina's colleague. The colleague, Victor, had once mentioned seeing Oleg at the art gallery where Marina worked on the day Alex was away on a business trip. At the time, it seemed like a coincidence, but now it took on a whole new meaning. Without wasting any time, Alex called Victor. "Hi, this is Alex. I have an unusual question for you. You said you saw Oleg at the gallery a few months ago. Do you remember what he was doing there?" "Oh, yes," Victor replied. "He came with Marina. They seemed very close, but I thought it was just friendship. Why are you asking?" Alex thanked him and hung up. This was more evidence that Oleg was not just manipulating the situation, but actively planning his actions. Alex was now sure that he had to talk to Oleg one last time. He decided to meet him at the same pub where they usually spent their evenings. When Alex entered the pub, Oleg was already waiting for him. He looked a little worried, but tried not to show it. "Hi, buddy," Oleg said, trying to smile. "Don't call me a friend." Alex sat down at the table, looking him coldly in the eyes. Oleg sighed. "Okay, I understand that you're angry, but you have to listen to me." "Listen? I've already heard everything. You manipulated Marina, used her weakness, and betrayed me. What else do you want to add?" Oleg tried to defend himself. He began to say that everything was not so clear, that Marina herself was unhappy in her relationship with Alex. But Alex no longer wanted to listen to excuses. "You decided to play the role of savior, but this is only a cover for your betrayal," Alex said. He took out his phone and showed Oleg screenshots of their correspondence, photos, collected evidence. Oleg turned pale. He realized that he could no longer hide his actions. "Yes, I did it," Oleg finally admitted. "But you have to understand, Alex. I live too. I also have my desires. Marina, she was special." Alex stood up. His heart was beating faster, but he controlled himself. "You were my best friend. I trusted you more than anyone else. And you ruined everything. Now live with that. You no longer exist for me," he said, turning around and leaving Oleg sitting in the empty pub. This meeting was the final end of their friendship for Alex. He realized that he would have to live without those who were ready to betray him for their own gain. But the worst was yet to come. He had to decide what to do with Marina. Returning home after talking to Oleg, Alex felt not relief, but an even greater burden. The breakup with the person who had been his best friend since childhood did not bring pleasure. Instead, he was left with a feeling of loss and emptiness. However, he was sure that he had done the right thing by ending this chapter of his life. Marina continued to write. Her messages varied in tone, from apologies to desperate pleas for another meeting. Alex ignored her, but a few days later he received a call that changed the course of events. The number that flashed on the screen was unfamiliar to him. Alex hesitated, but eventually picked up the phone. "Hello. This is Victor, Marina's colleague." He heard on the other end. "Yes, Victor? Something happened?" Alex didn't understand why he was calling him. "I don't know how to say this, but I think you need to know the truth. What I've learned is troubling me." Victor hesitated, then continued. "Marina left the gallery yesterday. She looked devastated. I asked her what happened, and she said something strange about Oleg." Alex felt his heart sink. "What exactly did she say?" "She said that Oleg was blackmailing her, that at first he was just supporting her as a friend, and then he started threatening to tell you made-up things if she didn't spend time with him. She was scared, Alex." I could see she was telling the truth. Alex was silent, trying to digest what he had heard. The information was like a stab in the back. If it was true, then everything was even worse than he had thought. "Thank you, Victor. This is important," Alex replied shortly and ended the call. He sat in his chair for a long time, thinking about Victor's words. If Oleg had really been blackmailing Marina, then her guilt was not as clear-cut as he had imagined. But could he trust her after everything that had happened? Without delay, Alex called Marina. "We need to meet. You have to explain everything," he said. Marina agreed to come that same evening. When she entered the apartment, Alex noticed how much she had changed. Her confidence and inner peace were gone. She looked exhausted and broken. "What did you want to know?" she asked, sitting down on the couch. "I talked to Victor. He said that Oleg was blackmailing you. Is that true?" Alex looked her straight in the eye. Marina flinched at the mention of Oleg's name. She sighed and replied, "Yes, it's true. But I didn't say it before because I thought you wouldn't believe me. You trusted him so much." "Tell me everything," Alex said, trying to remain calm. Marina began to talk. It turned out that Oleg had started talking to her more when Alex was busy at work. He was charming, attentive, and seemed like he just wanted to support her when she felt lonely. But over time, he began to hint that Alex didn't appreciate her, that she needed someone to be there for her. "I was weak, Alex, and I believed him," she said, wiping away tears. But the worst was yet to come. Oleg began threatening that if Marina tried to break up with him or tell Alex about it, he would tell him that she had cheated on him with others. "I didn't know how to stop it. I was afraid that you would believe him and not me," she confessed. Alex listened, feeling his rage against Oleg grow stronger. Now he saw him not only as a traitor, but also as a manipulator who ruined other people's lives for his own pleasure. "Why didn't you come to me?" he asked, trying to understand her logic. "Because I was afraid. I was afraid that you would support him, that you would leave me," she replied. Silence filled the room. Alex didn't know what to say. He was angry, disappointed, and confused at the same time. "I don't know if I can trust you, Marina. You should have told me sooner," he finally said. "I understand," she stood up, "but I can't keep it to myself anymore. I just want you to know the truth. Now the decision is yours." Marina left, leaving Alex alone with his thoughts. Now he had to decide what to do next. Try to start over or close this page of his life completely. Alex sat in the dark for a long time after Marina left. Her words left a mixture of feelings: despair, anger, sympathy. He tried to understand how all this had happened. Was Marina really just a victim of manipulation? Could she have stopped what had happened? Suddenly one thing became clear to him. Oleg had to answer for his actions. This was no longer a question of friendship or betrayal, but a question of justice. Alex decided not to leave everything at the level of words. He needed concrete actions that would help close this story forever. The next morning, Alex woke up early with a clear plan of action. He opened his laptop and began to make a list of everything he knew about Oleg. He remembered that Oleg had a weak spot: debt. Oleg had hinted several times that he had problems with loan payments. Alex decided that this could be the key to his weakness. Step 1. Gathering evidence. Alex contacted Victor and several other mutual acquaintances who worked with Marina. Their words confirmed her version. Oleg often came to the gallery, sought out meetings with Marina, and even tried to find out about her personal life. One of the colleagues said that she had heard Oleg asking Marina about Alex and making hints about his indifference. Alex also asked Victor for details about Oleg that he might know. It turned out that Oleg not only had debt, but also worked for dubious clients who could be involved in the fraud. Step 2. Confrontation. The next day, Alex decided to meet with Oleg. He called him and said he wanted to talk. "Dude, I don't know if there's any point in our conversations," Oleg said, but Alex interrupted him. "I know about your debts, about your machinations, and about the fact that you blackmailed Marina." Alex spoke coldly and confidently. Oleg fell silent. His voice, which had always been so self-assured, now sounded tense. "Where did you get that?" he asked. "It doesn't matter, but if you think you can just avoid the consequences, you're wrong. I'm going to turn to people who can hold you accountable if you don't do what I say." Alex felt his strength return to him. "And what do you want?" Oleg tried to sound brazen, but fear was already evident in his voice. "Stop harassing Marina. Leave her alone forever. And pay me back the money you've been borrowing for years. Otherwise, I'll make all this evidence public. Imagine how your clients will perceive your manipulations," Alex said, barely blinking, looking straight at Oleg. Oleg tried to argue, but Alex was unyielding. In the end, he agreed, albeit with apparent reluctance. Step 3. A new beginning. After meeting Oleg, Alex felt that he had taken the first step towards freeing himself from this pain. He understood that he still felt betrayed, but now he had a sense of control over the situation. When he returned home, he called Marina again. "I talked to Oleg. He won't harass you anymore," Alex said. "Thank you," she replied quietly. Alex sighed. "Marina, I don't know if we can start over, but I want you to know that I don't hold a grudge against you. We all make mistakes, but I can't talk about it anymore. I want some time to myself." "I understand," she replied. Her voice was calm, but there was a deep sadness in it. Alex spent the next few weeks trying to get his life back. He started exercising, spending more time with other friends, and even enrolled in a psychology course to better understand human relationships. One evening, on his way home, he stopped at a park where he liked to sit during difficult times. The air was cool and the sky was full of stars. Alex realized that despite all the pain, he had become stronger. His story was full of betrayal, but at the same time it showed him what he was capable of when faced with difficulties. Weeks passed. Alex's life gradually returned to its rhythm, but now he felt like a different person. He no longer sought meaning in old relationships or friendships that had collapsed. Instead, he focused on building a new, stronger version of himself. One morning, Alex decided to gather all the things that connected him to Marina. Her books left in their shared apartment, photos, gifts. All of this now reminded him of a past that he no longer wanted to return to. He carefully put everything in a box and signed it, past. This simple action became a symbolic end to the story that had brought him so much pain. Alex did not throw away the box. He simply took it to the closet, as a reminder that even the worst moments in life teach us something important. An unexpected meeting. One evening, while walking through the city, Alex accidentally came across Victor. They greeted each other, and Alex invited him for coffee to chat for a while. "How's Marina?" Alex asked as they sat down at the table. "She's holding up. She's got a new job. It seems like she's starting over. But she often thinks of you," Victor said, looking at him intently. Alex nodded. He wasn't surprised, but he didn't know if he was ready to talk to her again. "You know, Alex, the way you handled this situation is a strong act. Not everyone would have been able to get out of it with such dignity," Victor added. These words were a kind of confirmation for Alex that he was moving in the right direction. The last meeting with Marina. A few days later, Alex received a message from Marina. She wanted to meet one last time to put an end to their story. At first, Alex hesitated, but in the end he agreed. The meeting took place in a small coffee shop where they had often visited before. Marina looked a little different. She seemed to have become more mature, more serious. "Thank you for coming," she said when Alex sat down at the table. "I thought it was fair," he replied. Marina took a deep breath and began, "Alex, I know that nothing can justify what happened, but I want you to know I regret everything. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, and I ruined it. This is my cross that I will continue to carry." Alex was silent. His face remained impassive. "I am not asking you for a second chance. I understand that we will no longer be able to return what was, but I hope that you will find the strength to forgive me. And thank you for everything you have done for me." Her voice trembled, and she could barely hold back her tears. "Marina," Alex said calmly, "I forgave you, but forgiving doesn't mean going back. I'm glad you're starting a new life too. We all learn from our mistakes." They talked a little longer, exchanged a few words about the past, and Marina left. Alex felt that this was truly the last goodbye, a new chapter of life. Over time, Alex began to look at his story not as a defeat, but as the most important lesson. He learned not only to see in people what he hadn't noticed before, but also to value himself. One day, looking through his diary, Alex wrote, "Life always throws us tests that seem unbearable, but every blow, every betrayal teaches us to be stronger, to believe in ourselves and to keep moving forward. I thank fate even for these difficulties, because now I know who I am." His story became not only a memory of pain, but also proof that even the darkest moments can be turned into a source of strength. A new future appeared on the horizon, free from the past. And this time Alex knew his life would no longer be controlled by anyone but himself. Friends, thank you for listening to this story to the end. In the life of each of us, there are difficult moments, but they make us stronger and wiser. If you have something to say about this story or want to share your own experience, write in the comments. I will be happy to read your thoughts. If you noticed any errors or inaccuracies in my story, I apologize. I would be grateful if you point them out so that I can improve my content for you. Your support and feedback are the greatest motivation. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.